Welcome back. Let's get down to Hannah, who has our Cycle Gear last-minute report. Hannah?
That's right, guys. I'm down here. You may notice Josh Herron is starting from the back of the grid. He's just topping off with fuel because he's running a stock Fuel King. But it was really cool to see the entire paddock come together and help him get this R1S track ready. He got different bits and pieces from different teams. So I'll be really curious to see how he performs during this race and if it will be enough to get him through it.
Thanks for that last-minute report presented by Cycle Gear. Jason, what she's talking about as we take a look at this grid is going to be Josh Herron. He'll be back in 15th. But Matthew Skoltz, Cam Beaubier, and Tony Elias on the front row. Yep, Skoltz left off. Well, he started where he left off last year. Hayden, Gerloff, and Danny Eslick on row number 2. As we transition to rows 3 and 4, you can see Kyle Wyman, Bobby Fong, David Anthony, Jake Lewis, Cam Peterson. Bruno Silva was our last of our Super Pole qualifiers. And on back through the field, you see Josh Herron. He's in the 15th spot. His motorcycle didn't make it. They broke down in Louisiana. They couldn't get the motorcycle here. He had his track day bike, a 2016 R1S, and like Hannah was saying, a bunch of people threw some parts at it, a shock, fork internals, water wetter, because you got to take out that slippery stuff to cool the engine, a bunch of little bits and pieces, and he was able to go 108% of the fastest time in free practice 3 today, which puts him last on the grid.
Greg, not only that, for all you track riders out there that want to get the best stuff all the time, and he's on a bone stock bike, and he was only 3 seconds off this morning.
Bone
off the
stock
top guys. I
bone
mean,
stock.
Hasn't done any testing.
No.
He's on a bike that literally at 5 o'clock last night, 6 o'clock when I went to dinner, someone said, "Did you hear what Josh is doing?" I said, "What's he doing?" He's putting his track day bike together. And threw the thing together, comes out this morning, and on his second or third flying lap was already in 28 or something, or 29.
Yeah.
I have no doubt they've made some changes. But I'll tell you, there's going to be a group of guys, and he's going to be a row or two behind, that are not going to want to see a stock motorcycle go past them. So
a Superbike champion.
Absolutely.
On a stock bike.
And this just goes to show you how amazing technology has come. As I look at him out my window right now, I almost guarantee he's in a spare set of leathers and all that stuff. He's pointing to his grid spot, not really sure where he's supposed to be.
Yeah,
There he is,
am
right
I?
there in the
How
back
far,
right,
how
the
far
black
back
leathers.
am I? Yeah.
Amazing job, Josh Herron, and I hope he gets a good handful of points. And if it rains tomorrow, Greg.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
All right.
Equalizer. Here we go.
Josh Herron, number 2, right part of your screen. But all eyes on the front row. Can Matthew Skoltz get a good start and lead this one? We're going to find out here right now as Superbike is underway.
Really clean start from the front 3 guys, but it's going to be your defending champion. It's going to lead him off into turn 1 with Cameron Beaubier, Skoltz, Kyle Wyman jumps up in the 5th. Right behind as Raj gets kicked up out of the seat. Raj is back in 6th right now, trying to make a move on Kyle Wyman as they come into this little turn 2, 3, 4 area that we were talking about in our hot spots. And there you go.
Oh.
2 guys get together, look like Danny Eslick and Bobby Fong beating up on each other, going down the hill. And you can see there's some separation now. So Bobby Fong and it looked like Danny Eslick came together. And actually, the benefactor of that is going to be Roger Lee Hayden, because he's now up into 5th place.
Oh! Wow. Garrett Gerloff on the brakes, heading into turn number 6. The rear end comes off the ground and snaps around, but Gerloff able to get off that brake lever and hold it back in place.
I watched him into turn 6 this morning. I specifically went down there, and he looked better than anybody down there on race tires. I wasn't out there for the qualifying, but Garrett looked amazing going into turn 6, and you can see he has some pace on these guys when they tip off into that area. And Kyle Wyman is right on the back of all these guys. But going down into turn 10 on the first lap, here comes Raj. He's going to go up underneath Garrett Gerloff. Now, this is what I was talking about at the beginning.
Oh, down!
It looks like it's Cameron.
Yeah, looks like
it's Cameron Beaubier.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah, it looks like Cam Beaubier.
And I was expecting less of these kind of mistakes from Cameron Beaubier this year. I felt like he had a year under his belt racing against Tony, and now Tony gets a good look behind him, and he sees no Cameron Beaubier, and Raj has been the guy who's moved up closer. He was 6th up into turn 1 on our opening drive up the hill, and he's 3rd on his second way up there.
So Cameron Beaubier with a huge mistake. He started off the season 20 minutes into the first session, and he already crashed, and he said to me, "That's not the way I wanted to start the year." Of course, with a smile on his face, his crew, a huge effort yesterday to get the motorcycle back to the spec where he wanted it.
Now, this is where I feel like my wild card of the year, Matthew Skoltz, is going to show us if he's a championship contender or not. Will he hang out and see what this defending champion does and kind of get a good solid 20 laps under his belt and try to do something with him at the end, or is he going to try to do something with him early? We're going to find out and see exactly what his race pace is. As you see, Cameron Beaubier has got back up. and headed off into turn 1. Bike doesn't look too bad, but you can see the rear tail section. There's a piece getting ready to come off it, and if you have another look, we can't quite see it from this angle. Oh wow, that's Cam Peterson going off at the end of the back straightaway as well.
Wow.
So
Cam Peterson on the Genuine Broaster Chicken Honda.
There's Beaubier going through the gravel probably just before. Now to the left of our screen would have been Cam Peterson getting off into that back straightaway. And see what happens is you get in that draft on that opening lap with 2 or 3 different people, and it can suck you into that corner a little bit more, and that's what looked like happened to Cam Peterson.
20 races scheduled for the season as we go to 10 different venues. So I know it's a little early to talk about championship points, but I've got to say that with the field and with Cam Peterson, Max Flinders was scheduled for this race, but he had an incident on Friday that prevented him from racing. So right now, if Cam Beaubier can finish this race, he's in 13th spot. That's 3 points for him. So, but back up front, you can see Tony Elias Jason. Now, I want to talk about Tony because on the very start of that race, when he was going into turn 1, the rear end of that GSXR 1000, that Yoshimura bike was spinning up and he was trying to find some traction. And I don't know if that's just because he was so aggressive on a new tire or maybe something just isn't quite right with the setup, possibly the rear end or the electronics on that bike.
Well, yeah, that's going to be, as we play it out, Greg, we'll be able to have a closer eye at that. What I'm looking at still is the patience of Matthew Skoltz. Tremendous job so far. And, you know, he's got a first-hand seat if he does see anything going on with Tony's bike or he feels like Tony's lacking for grip. We might see him have a go and try to go past. But I also feel like when you look at the Superbike field, Matthew's one of our biggest guys, and I feel like it could play to his advantage, to be honest with you. The way he moves on the bike is very subtle. He doesn't do a lot of jumping all over the place on the motorcycle. And you can see right now, it looks like they've settled in 25-3 the last lap, 25 flat for both the first 2 guys. Other than this morning, Cameron Beaubier went 24.9 on race tires. That's going to be these two's fastest laps of the weekend on race rubber, and they are continuing to stretch out the lead just a little bit over Roger Hayden in 3rd.
So this Motul Superbike class being hotly contested by 2 reigning champions. Yep, because obviously Tony Elias wearing the number 1 plate is the reigning champ for the Motul Superbike class. Matthew Skoltz won the Superstock 1000 championship last year, including winning the Superbike race, the last race of the year. And he, on this privateer Yamalu Westby Racing Yamaha, is going for it right now.
Something I feel like I've noticed as we look back here at the battle for 3rd, it looks like Skoltz has the measure of Tony down through the S's a little bit. He looks like he carries a little bit more roll speed down through the S's than Tony. He might take a shot at leading 1 lap just to see Rog down in turn 7. So our championship contenders are doing a lot of the same things that they did last year, but we didn't see Rog tipping over until later in the year. He had finished every race. You can see his airbag has gone off, and he's got the bike back up. These guys know that they can still get points because of the limited amount of riders that we have right now in the field. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Matthew at some point in the next 3 or 4 laps just take a shot if he feels like he has the pace going down through. And that's going to be end of the day there for Raj.
That is heartbreak for Roger Hayden. That moves a couple riders up. Looks like
it's front end, Greg. It's going to be just getting in there. And, you know, we've seen it over and over. And we talk a lot about it, but the slowest, most insignificant part of that turn is going to be your entry. And we've seen a lot of guys trying to get into that particular part of the corner too fast and losing the front end of the motorbike.
We're at the front end. This is the race for the lead. It's Tony Elias.
See what I'm saying right here, Greg?
Oh, Skoltz, look at this move.
There you go.
So Skoltz pushes Tony Elias wide, and up and over turn number 5 he goes. So now Skoltz with a little bit of, hey, man, sorry about that. Tony Elias goes, don't worry, man, I got you. I'm going right around the outside. Oh, can't get it done. This is where Roger Hayden crashed, though. It looks like it's a little slippery as Tony's going to go up the inside. Can he make it stick? This is the race we hope we had seen. Oh, so Tony's
already telling him to follow. But see, I feel like Matthew's got the measure of him all down through the bottom half of the S's. That's what I had been seeing. And I could see him already testing that move a couple laps prior. Now, Tony's saying, let's just settle this at the end of the race. But if Matthew feels like he can gain an advantage there, he's just got to try to do something with him before. That's the thing. That's going to be it's a very difficult pass down in turn 5, and you can see the drive he's got back up over the top. But it looks like Tony's got a new challenger this year, and somebody that's not going to be afraid to stick it in there.
Well, a long way to go in this one, Jason.
Yep.
And can Matthew do this full 21 laps at this pace? 6 of them in the books now. So it's Tony Elias, Matthew Skoltz, and because of the exits of as we look at the replay here, you can see Tony going under his aggressive move.
Yeah, Matthew just outbroke him going into 6, and Tony turned it back up underneath him, and you can see him slapping the back of that thing like it's a Kentucky Derby, Greg. And but this is where I feel like Matthew's so good, especially at the bottom of this hill. When they start heading into turn 5, he's just got so much speed down in this area right here.
Just to give you an idea, of course, it's the number 1 plate, Tony Elias. Left-hand part of your screen, Schultz in second spot. They have got a couple seconds over Garrett Gerloff. You can see him in the back part of your screen. Gerloff actually the faster of those 3 riders because these 2 are racing it up. Kyle Wyman's in 4th, Jake Lewis in 5th, Bobby Fong in 6th, Danny Eslick in 7th, David Anthony. Josh Herron up to 9th spot, collecting some points there. He's done a 1:27.9.
Amazing. 27.9. He's only 2.9 seconds off on
a track day bike.
Relatively a track day motorcycle. So
that would have put him 12th on the grid, by the way.
That's amazing, yeah. So it just goes to show you how good these motorbikes are that you're picking up off your showroom floors. But things have settled down. I saw Matthew take a big look over his shoulder as they came through turn 6. It looks like he's very comfortable in the position he's in right now. He looked back and saw that Garrett Gerloff was, a few seconds back there. So that's going to give him some confidence that he's not getting pushed from behind. But the more laps he does behind Tony, the better it's going to be for him. And he's really going to be able to make a plan of where he wants to try to do something with him towards the end of the race.
Matthew Schultz, in order for him to stay fit, as we take a look at Daisuke, the crew chief for Tony Elias on the Yoshimura Suzuki factory team. Matthew Schultz, who lives in this area, he's about an hour away from the racetrack with his team Yamalu Westby Racing and Chuck Giachetto in the area. He went motocross riding on Wednesday, and he was going through a loop section and lost control of the bike. He didn't crash, but he ran over his right leg, and it caused him a lot of pain in his knee and his ankle. And he was very nervous about coming to this race on Wednesday. He woke up a little bit better Thursday, was a little sore yesterday, and he tipped over. Had a little bit of an incident yesterday in free practice, or in qualifying practice. But then Schultz said today that the crash didn't injure it anymore. He's feeling better. He's almost to the point where he can run. So he said, listen, once you get on the bike, the adrenaline's pumping, you don't even feel it. So Matthew Schultz kind of dodged a bullet there, motocross training on Wednesday. And now you can see the results of the hard work that this Yamalu Westby Racing team has been putting in the offseason. A lot of track days, not the easiest thing in the world, Jason, to go from Superstock 1000 configured machine to a full-blown Superbike.
No, but he's got a great crew down there that are going to help him do that. Chuck and all the guys down there at the Yamalu Westby team, they've done a great job making him comfortable on the bike he ran and won the championship on last year. And going into the season, having a few talks with Chuck that I did, they're just trying to keep it simple. They're not trying to over-engineer an already very, very good motorcycle, and they know they've got a rider with the talent to do what he's doing right now. So a great shot here of Tony coming into the last corner.
One thing I want you to take a look at as we look at the tire selection, of course, Dunlop slicks, soft front and soft rear. And the report that we get from Dunlop is the entire field has chosen in this race the same tire. But as you take a look at Tony Elias, Jason, the one thing that I noticed when we were at the barber test was that Tony in his hand position, if you look at his elbows, he's able to get around the tank a little bit better, and he looks more inside the bike. I talked to Don Sakakura, the principal for the Yoshimura Suzuki factory racing team, and he told me, last year, basically the spec motorcycle they ran was the Suzuki 8-hour bike. This year, they had more time in the off-season to concentrate on the sprint spec. They were able to get a narrower tank that has less fuel capacity to get those riders a little closer, and they were able to drop the seating position by 20 millimeters to get them more inside the motorcycle, and that's part of the development as Yoshimura in the United States is leading the sprint bike development for the entire world.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's all about making your rider more comfortable, and if you can do that, the rider's going to get more feel, he's going to be able to get more feedback, it's going to be easier to set the motorbike up. And you can see that Tony and the whole Yosh team have done that. Now, we're kind of in that stage of the race. We got sort of 11 laps left to go. Tony's looked back. He's seen that Matthew's there. He's not only seen him, he's seen him go past him, but he's also looked back for long enough to realize they've got a big gap. So we've got to make sure to see what these lap times are. They're circulating right now. You look how easy Matthew gets through all that little top part. I really feel that that's to his advantage being a little bit bigger. Again, a look at Matthew coming through the last corner in slow motion. Great job by our camera guys out there with BN Sports. And the thing is that now we're at that kind of stage of the race where they're going to just be kind of checking each other out and seeing where they're going to be strong. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Tony might even let Matthew lead a couple laps.
One thing definitely to think about is how do these riders, as we saw the graphic, the Dunlop graphic that says that both riders are on the soft option tire. Okay, so Dunlop brings a couple tires and they're going to bring a soft, a medium, or whatever. Is they're both on the same tires? That in conversations I've had around with Dunlop, with the Yoshimura Suzuki crew, is that Tony Elias, I think to a lot of people's surprise, is one of the easiest riders on rear tires in the paddock. So much so that Dunlop is looking to develop an even softer option tire because Tony and the reigning champion is asking for it because he knows that he can make these tires go the distance. So with Tony having that tool in his toolbox and Matthew Skoltz being his first race on a full-blown Superbike here in the United States, it'll be interesting to see as these laps wind down if Skoltz can keep that rear tire underneath him. Here's a look at the Superbike rookie. That was Garrett Gerloff, who's in third spot. Now we have Bobby Fong on the 50. So Bobby Fong, he's on that Quicksilver Lexan Moto Hudson motorcycle machine. As this crew, Hudson Motorcycles, a couple of brothers put this program together, and they've only been working on this Yamaha R1 for about the past 6 months. And right now they have their rider, Bobby Fong, number 50, in great shape to finish fourth. Right behind him is going to be Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis, of course, into the class. What do you got, Jason?
No, I'm just looking at Kyle Wyman because he had some problems. I talked to Gary Dean, his crew chief, earlier on. They've just been having a bunch of little weird things happening, and but I'm happy to see that he's up and running. He was with those two guys, Greg, that you were just talking about, Bobby Fong and Jake Lewis, a little bit earlier, but he's just fallen back just a little bit. We saw him earlier on.
Yep.
We thought maybe it was a practice start and a clutch thing. The bike had just died, so it's good that they got that bike back together and got him back on track. Now, seeing a little separation here between Tony and Matthew, but I think it's just Matthew kind of just biding his time, if I'm being honest, because there's a couple spots on the track where he can really close up onto the back of Tony. And we're looking at the times. I want to see if Tony just drops the hammer and starts doing, gets back down to those low 25s again. Right now, 25.3 to 25.5. And Garrett's just kind of hanging on the back there at what, like 3 seconds back right now.
3.5 seconds.
But this little section here, watch how much Matthew kind of closes up. This is the section where earlier he was, by the time they got down to turn 5, he was a lot closer to Tony.
You can definitely see by Matthew's body English right now that he's not in, super fast mode. I mean, he's pushing, sure, but he's not as aggressive with his body as he looks. He almost looks like he's just taking that breather and letting the middle of this race settle down. And Jason, it's something that happens here in MotoAmerica is that oftentimes you want to get out there, go for 5 laps as hard as you can, let the race settle down in the middle, and then go after it. Where some other series you've competed in World Superbike, I hear it's go, 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 go from the word go.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. There's this thing right now, though. I'm looking at the laps, and you're exactly right, Greg. But you got to remember, Tony Elias is a world champion. He's used to riding at that level where it's just go, go, go all the time. But he's also very good at managing races. As we see Cameron Bobier on our TV going up the screen here or going up the hill out of turn 1. He's doing a minute 27.9 on that last lap.
Up to 10th is the Monster Energy Yamalu Factory Yamaha rider, Bobier, after going down early on in this race. So he continues to claw back some points. And here's a look at that start. And all the riders on the front row got a good launch. Tony Elias got a good one, but he bent it into turn number 1, and it wasn't like it was very tidy for him. And if you watch the exit of this, Jason, see the rear end moving around?
Yeah, I see it. You're exactly right. And that's, but the tire will wear in and it'll get better. Now, when they got to the top of the hill, that's kind of where all the action started. That was Garrett getting into turn 6, shaking his head a little bit. But Garrett's back there in third. He's getting all the laps that he needs right now. These are all learning lap times for Garrett, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to find himself on the podium in his very first race. So, and Cameron Bobier going down, frustrated, you can tell. And but look what's happened, Greg. Maybe our champion here was just kind of playing around because he's dropped his lap time. I said just now, it'll be interesting if he can drop back down to the low 25s. 25.1 that last lap by to open up almost half a second on that lap.
Very interesting to see Tony Elias coming out of turn number 7 and the front end of that motorcycle moving around. So I know Tony, when he has a lead like this, not only is he thinking about this race, he's also thinking about what improvements can they make to the motorcycle, not just for tomorrow, but for the overall season. So the reigning champion playing his cards right as his championship favorites, Cameron Bobier and Roger Hayden, taking huge tumbles as Hayden has been out of this race, as well as Cam Peterson. Max Flinders, who is on the grid, scheduled to be on the grid, is a do not start. So it's Elias, Skoltz, Gerloff, Fong, Lewis, on that M4 X-Star Suzuki in 5th spot, so he'll collect a heap of points, will Jake Lewis. Kyle Wyman in 6th, Danny Eslick in 7th, David Anthony in 8th spot. Now the story behind David Anthony in 8th spot, now this battle is heating up. This is for 5th spot between Bobby Fong and Jake Lewis. Now Jake's been there. He's been this close to Bobby Fong before, and Bobby had a big recovery because we saw early on in the race he had a bit of an incident with Danny Eslick.
He certainly did. And these guys are used to racing against each other in Superstock last year, so they're going to be very familiar with how each other roll. So it's a great move for Bobby to get on with this team. Hudson Motorcycles. They started putting this bike together, and I was watching them actually do some testing. And I know Bobby's been working with Josh Hayes a lot, which is tremendous to have somebody like that in your corner. And but yeah, he got together with Danny right off the bat in that section up the top of the hill, and just put him back. But I'm looking at his lap times: 26.6 the last time by, 26.3 for Garrett Gerloff. So these guys aren't that far off of what Garrett did. Now, 25.4, 25.6, but that gap at the front is just kind of stalled at 1 second for the last 3 or 4 laps. So maybe Tony put his head down, got that gap that he needed, but it'll be interesting to see if Matthew, with 7 laps to go now, can pull it back.
Come across the line. You can see Tony taking a look over his right shoulder. That's because along pit lane, the pit wall, there is boards that the riders read, and they can get information off of that board. No communication to the pits. Garrett Gerloff, his rookie season aboard the Superbike after wrapping up the Supersport Championship. And Jason, looking across the board in MotoAmerica, you know, from the Liqui Junior Cup class, Supersport, Motul Superbike class, the interesting thing is, looking at Garrett Gerloff, is that we have multiple champions from last year, class champions. Only Tony Elias wearing the number 1 plate because Garrett Gerloff, in the spirit of MotoAmerica, was graduated from Supersport into the Superbike category. Benjamin Smith, who was the KTM Cup class, is now graduated to Supersport. Matthew Schultz, of course, on the Stock 1000 class in Superbike as well, as we take a look at the Yamalu Westby Racing rider. So that gap, as we continue to look at it,
opened up a little bit this lap for sure.
It visibly, yeah. Last time by, he closed at 2/10.
Second sector, Tony really cleaned at that time and got through there really well. It just seems like, I love how Matthew gets through turn 10 and 10A, so simple and fluid. But I just don't know if he's sitting there. It's hard to tell right now because it definitely looked like he's got some speed over Tony in a couple spots. But to see this gap kind of not getting really too much, it's still 1 second though, Greg. Like, he pulls it back in the last segment just a little bit.
Yep. Don Sakakura sitting down to the right with the glasses chewing the gum. But center part of your screen, that's Daisuke, and he is in charge of Tony's program, along with so many people inside of that Yoshimura Suzuki factory racing team. All of their weight behind both their riders. I mean, equally, as we take a look at Tony's riding style, you can see these great slow motion shots as the bike works underneath Tony.
Yeah,
you can see how much tighter he is on that position.
It just looks like he's more, like you say, he looks like he's more in the bike. And they've got a couple of guys they're coming up on right now. I believe it's Sebastian Ferreira and Bruno Silva that they're going to be catching up to. Probably by the end of the back straightaway, he's going to be somewhere near these guys. But if he doesn't get by him, I think he's probably going to get by him. He's going to get by, probably at least by Bruno. Probably get by both these guys under the brakes going down the end of this back straightaway, as you can see. But see this little bit right here? That little bit of, that would have held him up. But I can tell you right now, Matthew Schultz was hoping that they were going to get held up a lot worse. And this is where the race is. Unfortunately for Matthew, look at this. Yeah, that right there. This is going to open up that gap now and make it very, very difficult for Matthew to close that gap up.
That's tough for those riders. Schultz is going to go now. We'll see what happens when he comes across the line to make it 6 laps to go. And that gap went from 1 second to 1.9. So even without the drive, if Matthew was able to get his drive off that last corner, that gap might even be larger by the time we get to turn number 6. As Schultz now, if he's got any urgency in him, he's got to work to close the gap.
Well, if he feels like he's got speed, he can do that. But I believe this championship this year, with the contenders that we have, I believe this championship is going to be won on your worst days. And right now, second place is definitely not a bad day at all for Matthew Schultz right off the bat. He's going to come back out fighting and swinging tomorrow. What I want to be able to do is make sure to see that he's able to accept that second place right now. If he doesn't feel like he's going to have to go over the edge to try to catch back up with Tony during this race. But right now, even in that first split, Matthew reeled him in a little bit by 0.3, but we'll see in the second split now.
Yeah, and it's late in the race. What kind of tire does he have left underneath
Correct.
him? Down the back straightaway goes Tony Elias. If you're interested to find out what kind of speed they're carrying, well, according to where MotoAmerica has that split, it's right around 182 miles per hour on the back straightaway here at Road Atlanta. But I'm going to go get some data from the teams after this race because we're going to find out what that exact speed is. To give you an idea of lap times around this 2.5 mile circuit, as Tony Elias comes across, he clicks off a 1:25.4, setting the fastest split in segment number 3. Matthew Skoltz, Jason, has the fastest lap of the race so far. He did that all the way back on lap 3 at a 1:25.0. The average speed around this racetrack for a Superbike, just under 108 miles per hour.
Wow. Yeah, that's fast. And like I said earlier, Greg, it's a very flowing track. Here you go with Jake Lewis. And Jake's got to be feeling pretty good about running in 5th place right now. Kyle Wyman running in 6th. Just wants to, try to collect some points. And there we go. Danny Essex, first time we've seen him since we saw that little altercation that he and Bobby Fong had. But Danny's been really impressive this weekend on the BMW. I think he's the bike looks really good, and Danny's been looking fantastic, being able to qualify that bike on the 2nd row in 6th place. And I think that team's only going to continue to improve.
Scheibe Racing, Hayes Brakes, sponsored machine. Of course, the owner of that team having a lot of experience in Superbikes, going all the way back, back and back, but most notably to a Harley-Davidson program many, many years ago. Steve Scheibe out of the Wisconsin area. So that team doing well, as is this rider, your defending champion.
He's getting into that little crossed up, coming down. He's going to go by his board this time, and he's going to see 2+ seconds now, Greg.
Now watch as he gets into turn number 1, Jason. Watch the wheels come off the ground. Sometimes he hits this bump, and I didn't quite hit it there, but there have been times when I definitely can see areas where I think, after knowing Tony and the way he communicates with his crew, he's definitely going to have some things he wants to improve on this motorcycle.
Yep, we can see the rear wheel off the ground there, and it kind of pitches it one way, and then it's going to come back the other direction. And you can't, until you've really ridden here, you have no idea how steep it is coming down that hill. It's very, very steep. So when you're getting on the brakes that hard, and you're transferring all that weight forward, and you're making a body position change, that's why you're seeing the bike dance around a little bit underneath him. So, but you're exactly right. The worst part for the competition of Tony winning the first day is that he's only going to come back stronger the second day normally.
And, we haven't really seen big, huge mistakes or just bad luck days like we saw the first year he came racing here. One in mind, of course, Jersey.
Yep.
Remember when it was in the rain and they got that setup all taken care of. So tomorrow, if your competition, you're thinking to yourself, well, I might have an opportunity to gain some points back on Tony Elias. But, this Yoshimura team has really put their heads together the last year and a half and been able to give him a good range setup that works for him as well.
Yep. And Suzuki's are starting to win a little bit more worldwide, even over in BSB. They won the opening 2 rounds at Donington Park. So the Suzuki's definitely starting to come into its own a little bit more. And with Yoshimura at the forefront as far as being able to help develop that bike, especially with somebody like Tony on board, it's only going to help them. But this guy's impressing me, Greg, a lot, Matthew Skoltz. He has for a couple of years now. And he knows the things he'll want to get improved on. He'll confirm that with his team tonight as well. Right now, he's 2.7 back. So somewhere in the middle of the race, he kind of lost a little bit of the feel that he had gained throughout the day. Now, let's go back to Josh Herron. Josh is running 9th place. So this guy didn't even get on a bike till this morning. And yeah, there's been a little bit of attrition. But the thing is, he's going to walk out of this thing with 9th place points, although you can see Cameron Bobier probably going to catch him. Cameron's come from a long way back right now and has been reeling in Josh ever so slightly. But you can't say enough about the effort that this guy's put in. He borrowed bodywork, I think, and you can see the Wiener Schnitzel. One of his personal great sponsors is on board there. The truck that this guy had his best bike with the tech team is sitting in somewhere in Louisiana.
It's funny because I said to him, you still have the stock speedometer and tachometer on that bike, right? And he's like, yeah, how many miles on that bike? And he was like, I don't know. Because, that's like legit. So, it really does show how well the Yamaha R1 is. And Jason, just looking at the entry list, Yamaha R1s dominate the Motul Superbike class entry list with 11. There's 3 GSXR 750s, 2 Kawasaki ZX10s, 2 BMW S1000 RRs, and a lone Honda CBR 1000 RR. So you can see that the rest of the paddock and the rest of people in racing have responded to the success that Yamaha has had over the years. I mean, between Josh Hayes, Cameron Beaubier, obviously a really well-proven motorcycle, and the technology coming out just for a track day bike or a street bike.
Where did he get such a trick number 2 for the front of his bike when he didn't have anything here? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question. I know that the folks from Dripping Wet Graphics are here, and maybe they went somewhere and got to work. But you know what, Josh Herron, he's liked across the paddock. He's obviously a Superbike champion. He's raced Moto 2 for a stint or two, and when something like this happens, it shows the merit of absolutely of MotoAmerica paddock. But he's got Cameron Beaubier on the full factory machine. A couple of horsepower difference from the factory
bit down
bike.
this front straightaway. You'll see it here, but what an effort from Josh, really, as the day is on.
Just ahead of this battle is David Anthony. He just set his fastest lap of the race for himself.
And he held him off. So look, Herron ain't giving up. It's what, 2 laps to go, or last lap, Greg? 2 laps to go?
2 laps to
go.
go.
So he held him off. Cameron's probably saying, okay, I'll just wait till I get out of turn 5 and pull the trigger on this thing.
Coming across that line right there, that is your race leader, Tony Elias. He takes the white flag, so we are on the final lap of competition. Yeah, I think going back to this battle, Jason, at this point, if you're Cam Beaubier, what does that 1 point mean? Just use the factory legs and get by him on the back straightaway. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to do. I mean, look, Josh is going just as quick through the corners as these guys because the chassis and the tires are still amazing on these motorcycles. The chassis are outstanding, and he's still on the same tires as Cameron, but this is where you're going to probably see a little bit of horsepower difference, and hopefully Josh can hold on when Cameron goes screaming by him right now.
Beaubier giving him plenty of room on this final lap. This is for 9th spot, so there goes Beaubier on that factory Monster Energy Yamalu factory racing Yamaha to go around Josh Herron. So he will take over the 9th spot as the white flag continues to fly. There's Tony Elias already on the back straightaway, and he'll come down into turn 10A and 10B, sliding that GSXR 1000 around as he is looking for race 1 win of the Motul Superbike class. A nice little wheelie from Tony. Oh, he knows he's got it, and he's snapping it sideways. It seems very predictable. On the gas, out of the final corner, your defending champion, Tony Elias, will take the win in the Motul Superbike class.
Yeah, good for him. Great job, Matthew Schultz.
Smart.
Coming back, absolutely. All those laps, he just went out and put in, full race distance, and he's going to learn a lot from that. Garrett Gerloff, the same. It's a shame it was a little anticlimactic for us losing Cameron at the start. Here go Bobby Fong. He's going to end up 4th on his first ride on that bike, which is a tremendous thing. Jake Lewis as well. Both these guys are going to continue to make their motorbikes better with their teams, even overnight, but also as the season goes. Don't forget, Greg, we got next weekend, we'll get to go to Dakota with the Superbikes, which is going to be great.
Absolutely.
And we'll be able to see these guys and any changes they might make. Kyle Wyman has had a bit of a rough weekend.
But a good pile of points for race number 1.
Absolutely right, yeah.
He'll collect 10 in 6th spot, and then it's Eslick and David Anthony.
Close, too.
There's David Anthony. Yeah, we haven't had a chance to see the 25 on the Fly Street Racing machine. And here comes Cameron Beaubier, 2-time Superbike champion. He'll come down the hill, and he will, pending the navigation of this final corner, he'll bring it home in 9th spot, and hats off to Josh Herron. What an effort by everyone involved in that program. Herron with a wheel in the air. He'll finish 10th. So it could have been 0 points for Herron, and instead it's 6 points. So wheel in the air for the Yamalube Westby Racing motorcycle of Matthew Schultz as he enjoys a podium in his full season in the Motul Superbike class. And Garrett Gerloff in his rookie debut. A good job by Gerloff. They'll look at fastest lap. So Schultz will have that honor at a 25.059. Tony Elias did a 25.094, and only half a second off on the fastest lap is Garrett Gerloff. And in talking to Garrett earlier today, he was in Superpole, and it was his first opportunity ever in his life to get on a qualifying tire. They only got one qualifying tire. They didn't get a chance to get on the second one. And he was concerned, was Gerloff, going into this race, talking about, well, I don't know how I'm going to race. Like, I don't know how the bike's going to react, how I'm going to react. So it'll be interesting to hear as we get into Winner's Circle, or maybe even when we get a chance to get into the paddock tonight, to see how it went for Garrett Gerloff. He knows that that the A rider on the team is Cameron Beaubier, and so there's not a lot of pressure on the Texan.
But the thing is, Greg, is he put in a good solid amount of laps there to do what he did. 21 laps of knowledge that he's going to have. And, you know, my question for Garrett's going to finish a lot of races. Like, he's going to be there all year long. The thing I think I don't even have any questions about that. I just want to see how it comes when we get into these 4 and 5 rider battles, when all these guys are really hammering at each other, because it's a little bit heavier motorcycle to throw around than the 600 was, a lot more horsepower, but that kid's cagey, and he's going to be just fine as he gets more and more laps under his belt.
So Tony Elias winning half the races last year, and the national champion waves to the crowd as we come back to Road Atlanta. We'll get to Hannah, and we will talk to Tony to find out how his race went. All right, welcome back to Road Atlanta here in Brazelton, Georgia, where the Motul Superbike class has just concluded, as we saw a torrid race from reigning champion Tony Elias in a dominating performance from about the halfway point on. Won by 5 seconds in this one. Let's go down to Hannah in Victory Lane. Hannah, take it away.
Finisher. Garrett, it was your first Superbike race, first podium for you of this season. Are you content? Are you happy with the 3rd place? Or are you really missing being on that top step of the podium?
I think content's a good word. I mean, I don't feel bad at all. I felt nervous going into it, not gonna lie, but after a few laps, like I felt like we had good bike, and I thought I was kind of pacing Tony and Matthew, but you know, just things kept pulling away a little bit. Got a little bit of a gift with Cameron and Roger going down, but I was confident that I would be right there, you know, with those guys if they were still standing. So happy, but just got to give all the glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and big thanks to the team, Yamaha, Yamalube, Yamaha Financial Services, Monster Energy, Graves, Cortec Leathers, HJC helmets, CD boots, everybody that's behind me, my whole family back home. I know they're all watching right now, and just super happy to be here. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Garrett. Congratulations.
I mean, what a great result for his first race in the Superbike class. 3rd, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, 21 solid laps, and that's what he's got to do. And now he's got something that he can go back to his team with. Testings, but racing's great.
Yeah.
Greg. So when you can race and get the data of how you felt, things that you might have started to notice midway through a race, and that kind of thing that your team can help you with, that's golden.
Well, the fans are out there snacking, and I know that Matthew Skultz was chomping at the bit to win this race, but he'll have to settle for 2nd, Hannah.
Okay, so a 2nd place finish for you. You made a pass at Tony at one point, but you just couldn't hold on to him. Tell about your race.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't looking at my lap board for the first 5-6 laps, and I sort of thought that I had the pace, and then once Tony passed me back and he said follow me, I looked back and saw that we had quite a decent gap. So then, you know, I just thought that I could follow him and maybe try challenge him in the last few laps, but he was just unfortunately way too consistent for me. I started dropping off maybe around lap 14, 15, started getting a little bit sketchy. I lost the front a lot of times, you know, I just had to settle for a second. So Tony rode an awesome race. Our lap times were really, really quick, which was nice, you know, and well done to Garrett and Tony. It was awesome stuff to have my first Superbike race and finish in a 2nd. So I'm really, really happy. Thank you to the Yamalube Westby guys. They give me an awesome bike, so I'm looking forward to the 2nd race.
Thanks, Matt. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Jason, I mean, that's the way you got to do it. It's a long, long season, and when you have a 2nd place bike with 2nd place tires at that point, you got to go for it.
Hey, he's got 20 points in the bag right off the bat, and all this kid's going to do is keep getting better and learning, and he's going to be there again. I'm really excited about the year with the young talent that we have, but again, Tony grinded out the laps. The Superbike races are longer than what Matthew's even used to, and he just grinded out the laps and put a win together.
Let's go back down to Hannah, who has our 1st place finisher, winner Tony Elias.
First race of the season, first win from our defending champion. Matt made a pass on you and tried to stay in front of you, but couldn't quite. But what did you think about that?
It has been a perfect start. I was not sure about the other's rhythm, but I was very sure of mine. So I was thinking start to push in the middle of the race, but I've been luck, some crashes, and I decided to start to push since the beginning. And I've been surprised when Matt passed me. He did a great overtake, big balls, but that moment we had 2 seconds gap, and I didn't want to lose any time. So quickly I passed him back, and I said, hey, stay behind because the rhythm is good. Let's fight at the end, and that was my goal, and he understand that, and thanks because he did a great job. But at the end, the pace was really good. Maybe it was better my pace at the end than the beginning. The bike was a little bit lighter, so good rear grip. Front grip was good, and I felt comfortable. I never give up, always on the limit. But yes, this is for my team. They work really hard all winter, and my family, my friends, all the sponsors. Thanks everyone to make this possible.
There you have it from our defending champion.
Congratulations to Tony. What a great performance, and using all the tools in his toolbox.
A lot of experience there, you know, and again, you put those 21 laps together. He wanted to fight it out at the end, but he was grinding out that mid-race pace that he knew he could do, and you know, it's very hard to beat a rider of his caliber, let alone such a great team.
We'll take a break on beIN Sports. On the other side, we have more. MotoAmerica was presented by Dunlop. Dunlop Motorcycle Tires builds the official MotoAmerica race tire right here in the USA. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. All right, welcome back to Road Atlanta, and the Motul Superbike class is done and dusted. Here's a look at the results. It's Tony Elias, Matthew Schultz, Garrett Gerloff, Bobby Fong with a good bit of points. He'll collect 13 for his effort. Jake Lewis in 5th spot, then Kyle Wyman, Eslick, David Anthony. It's a good top 10 finish for David Anthony. Beaubier, after a crash, claws his way into 9th spot. Well, we talked about this Twitter poll that happened earlier on in the broadcast. 44% of you said that Tony Elias would win this Motul Superbike class race. 31% said Beaubier. And guess what? You guys were right, even though 25% said Gerloff. Pretty crazy, right? So congratulations to Tony Elias on his victory and a great race here today. We'll do it again tomorrow. That'll do it for us now. For Jason Pridmore and for Hannah Lopa, I'm Greg White. As we say goodbye to the final podium, Tony Elias wins the Motul Superbike class, and we will see you tomorrow.